variables and operators in today's class. And basically, you first of all need to understand that what do you mean by the term variable. So variable is basically a space in a memory that is given a name, like an identifier. Like for example, if I'm working out on a program or on a software where I have to calculate the marks of students. So the variables that I'm going to take is going to be student marks, student names. A variable is like a space that you are given to any of the names so that you can enter those names and values into that. So those variables can be like either if you have a student name, student age, like all of these things. Like for example, right in front of you, if I'm opening an image to further illustrate you regarding these variables. So we are not going to get into this quantitative or continuous discrete them. I just want to give you an overall meaning of a variable. Like whenever if you want to name something into a program, or you want to use that those values later on into that program, so you basically take those variables. Variables is basically a space that you provide so where you can enter your data. Like for example, an age is a variable, so the student's age can be entered here. Like for example, if the first student is of age 23, the second student is of age 50 years old, so this is basically an example of a variable. Similarly, I can also give a variable like height. So all of the students in a class height can come under that. For example, time, you can keep on keeping, you can even change the values as well, like hair colors, eye colors. So these are basic variables. So whenever you are working with a program, you need to give them it as well. So if I keep it really simple, a variable is basically a space in a memory that is given a name, an identifier. It is a place where you can store data that can be changed while you are programming. So whenever you will be working into the programs, you will be probably be having two of the items, like either if it's a variable or either if it's a constant. So constants are going to be basically those values that are not going to change. Like for example, pi is to value 3.14. A year has 365 days. There are 24 hours in a day. Things like this data keeps constant. Or if there is any specific value into your program that is not going to change as per your program, so that has to be a constant. But just in case if there are values like students marks, so the student marks can vary in terms of either different students in a class. Like some would might have the highest of them, some might would have the lowest of them, so they can change. So when you have changing values, so you use a variable. A variable is like a name, like it's a name that provides you a space where you can add those values that you can change them. A variable is a space in a memory that is given a name where you can store the data where it can change. For example, if you want to create a space in memory for in a memory called name, so you can store all the names of the students into that class. You can later it change it to Katrina. You can later change it to anyone else, but that is basically like you are creating a space where you can store all of your data. So either you call it a space, either you call it an identifier, or either you call it a variable. It has to be same. The identifier must be a one word, and it should must be having no spaces. Like if it's a student age, there shouldn't be any space in between them. Is it clear to you? Do you have any queries in this? Okay, perfect, perfect. Now, moving on further, when you want to basically assign a variable name or when you want to assign a space, you are basically going to use a declaration. Like I said that you have to assign a variable, and that variable is either a student's name, a student's number, or either a name where you are going to store the values of your whole class. So before doing that, what you need to do is you first of all need to declare it. By declaration means that you are declaring a variable. A variable declaration is basically telling the program that you need a space and memory and what its identifier going to be. So if you want to select a variable, like for example, a student's name, where you want to store the all of the students' values or names. So first of all, you need to declare that so that your program would know that this is a variable. So how can you do that? You can simply do that by adding this var with your variable name. So this is basically going to be your command that you are going to use in terms of if you are declaring a variable. Var tells the JavaScript that you want to create a variable, and that the word that you are writing just after the var by giving a space, that this is going to be considered as a variable. Like for example, right here, these are some of the programs that we have practiced earlier. Now you can see right here this example, var. This means that I have used a variable. What is the name of the variable? The name is user answer. The name is confirmed, and later on you can even swap the values into that. So this is how you basically declare a variable. If I move on to the next area, that is regarding your assignment. So assignment is basically like how we assign different values. Like for example, if I'm giving you an assignment, so that's mostly like you have to do it at your home, like I'm giving you a homework or something. So if I am giving you an assignment, that means you have to do it at your homework. That means that I have assigned you that work. Similarly, when it comes to your assignment operator in your JavaScript programming, assignment basically means that you are giving a value to a variable. For example, you are my student and I'm giving you a homework. That means I'm assigning you a homework. But similarly, when you are adding a value to a variable, you are giving a value to the variable. For example, the name that you selected into your class, if it is going to be like Lusa, so you are going to write it like this. For example, the name of your variable is equals to and within inverted commas and then this close. So this basically means that you have assigned the name to that variable, that is name itself. You need to understand the syntax here. The syntax should be that the name of the variable comes first and is equals to can be read as the word becomes. So you should see that first of all you have a name, then you have a space, then again space, then it is enclosed by this. So just as like this, you can see the name, you can see the age. So do you have any query still here? So it's like the same thing in math. Like yes, definitely it's the same thing, and it is basically just an advanced version what we are studying in computer sciences. So basically, computer science and mathematics has a relation that go on throughout. So if it's basically like is equals to one, if it's like y is equals to two, this means that one is assigned the value to the variable x, and two is assigned the value to the variable y. Does it make sense? Perfect, perfect. Good. Now we need to move on to the next title, that is data types right here. And basically data types are different forms of data and different types of categories that we can use when it comes to a JavaScript. I think that I have covered it earlier as well, but let me give you a brief into that. The data is stored in now when you are storing the data into your variable, you need to be sure that what your data is going to be, like what is going to be the category of that data. For example, if it is a number, for example, if it is a string, or for example, it is a boolean. For example, if you are storing the number of siblings, so it cannot be 2.667. It always has to be in a whole number. Like it can either be 1, it can either be 2, it can either be 3. So this is important when you are working with your program. So when it comes to your data type, so data types are basically used to provide you one of the ways that how you can categorize your data into JavaScript. Like the first data type that I have right here is basically a number which states a numeric value. Like for example, if the age of someone is 16 or if the score is 12.4. For example, siblings are either two. For example, what is the student marks? So that can be right here in your number. This is the first data type. The second data type that we can discuss is going to be string. So when it comes to string, you need to have it into your mind a combination of letters and symbols all together. Like for example, if it is a street number or an address or something, so you can see that you would be having alphabets and you would be having numbers all together. So strings is basically like letters, characters, and numbers all together. But you need to understand one thing, that any text string must start and end with either single or double quotation marks. So this is a rule for that. So if it is a string, it has to be started and ended with a double quotation marks or a single quotation marks. Then we have is your third area, which is the Boolean data type. And Boolean data type basically states that if the data type is either true or false, either on or off, either yes or no. So when you have two options only, you only take the data type of Boolean. Can strings also be with number that have decimals? No. Strings certainly have to be like, for example, Karachi, Pakistan, Street 41F, Bahria Town, 77690, Karachi. This is an example of a street. You can even have it like Karachi, Pakistan, Street 42F, 3.7767G, 4423, Karachi. Like this way, it can be considered as a string, but the only restriction is that if it has to be in your inverted commas. Is it make sense? Is it clear? Do you have any queries? Perfect, perfect. Now, furthermore, two of the data types that we have to discuss right here. So just give me a moment. Okay, so first of all, if these are Variables. So variables are really simple. These are just spaces in memory that is given a name. You can say it an identifier, or you can either call it as a place where you can store data that can be changed throughout program. And some of the examples of a variable can be like, for example, if it is an age is a variable, and the value that is going to enter here can be different. A name can be a variable, and any value that comes here can be different. Similarly, if it is a constant, so this is going to be the value that never changes. Like for example, pi is equals to 3.14. A single year has 365 days, so it goes on. Similarly, you also need to have an understanding of your declaration as well. And I have discussed this quite in detail. Is that this is basically a statement giving the identifier, giving the identifier of a variable. That means that it declares that which of the words that you have to use. So this is important, and you can do that by writing it like var variant, whatever your name of the variable is. Like for example, it is if I'm either using this name, so first of all it has to be declared. And other than that, what we have discussed is assignment, and assignment is basically like, for example, x is equals to 1. That means the value of 1 that is assigned to x. So you use this is equals to when assigning a value. So like for example, age goes like age is 18, done that. This is your assignments. Moving on, what I was discussing right now was data types. The reason for data types is that you should having the different categories, or you can have different set of data whom you can work on. And some of the data types is, first of all, is going to be a number data. A number data, what it can be, it can be any numeric value. For example, you are working with student's age. For example, you are working with the student's marks. For example, you are working with the score. So this is it for number. The second area is a string, and the string is, I have already discussed in detail, that is basically like either a combination of letters, characters, or numbers. The third data type I have was Boolean, and Boolean in the case is only like if I have only two options, like either if I give you two options, that either if you want to join the class, or either if you do not want to join the class. If you have two options such as yes, no. If you have two options such as true, false. If you have two options such as 1 or 0, so you are only going to use a Boolean data type, which means that only two options. Now, I want to discuss one or another of the important data type, that is your arrays. So basically, when we are discussing an arrays, you need to think of it as a series. You need to think of it as a list. You need to think of it as a series list, or you can say that a series of values or list that contains same data type. One thing is important right here, that the list should be containing all of the values of same data type. Like for example, if I'm working on to the number of siblings, so uh, it has to be like I have only one number of siblings. Or let me give you another example. For example, I'm working with numbers. So what are those numbers that are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? For example, I'm working with alphabets. So what are those alphabets? Those alphabets could either be like A, B, C, D. What I want you to understand, that arrays never work with different data types. Like you can never have a data set of A, B, 1, 2, because it states that a data type should must be having your elements of same for same type. Like for example, you can have your items from the grocery. Those items can be different, or like for example, if this is number, or for example, if it's student name as well. Like for example, the name of my students in a class is like no, it's like Saud, it's like Ali. This is basically an array that has the same types of elements. And I can even name it like as a students like this. So any confusion still here? Other than that, I have another data type that is to be known as an object. Now, when you will be focusing on object, this is basically a series of named values of the variable. Basically, a series of named values of the variable. Like for example, I can say that there was a film which title is The House. The genre of that film is drama, and the length of the film is 96, and the release date is 2012. So when you see that, now when you are having a different set of data, and you are having different values, and you want to word into a list like a structure, you cannot use an array, because an array has a restriction, and the restriction is that it should must be having the data items of only the same type. But when you are working with an object, it helps you to merge all these items together like this. Do you have any queries still here? The next area that we will be discussing is going to be your data type conversions. And right into your data type conversions, what does this mean? Is it basically means like you can convert one type of data into a second data type. Like if there is any scenario in a program, in a exam or place where you want to convert from one place to another, so you can do that. Like for example, if I say that I want to convert data to a string, so like first of all, if I have a variable, the name of the variable is string number. If I want to convert all of the data into a string, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type here string and into brackets 999 that represents the actual length of the string. Like for example, if I have a variable that is named as string boolean, means existing variable, and I want to convert its data type, so I can use it like this, like strings true. So this basically converts the data into another form. Like here's another example. Now here I am converting data to an integer. So how I can do that? Integer means only whole value. So this is going to be like variable, my number is string, and if I want to convert that into an integer, so this is going to be like number 999. It has to be in inverted commas. One thing you need to be aware, quite sure of that whenever you will be working with the Boolean part, so Boolean data can be converted to numbers. Like for example, if it is true, it can be converted to one, and for example, if it is false, it means it can be converted to zero. Like I can say that this is again another variable. The name of the variable is number boolean, and if you want to convert it, you can simply type like number true. So now let's work on some of the practical part, and for implementing them, boolean can also be yes or no. Yes, yes, yes. Boolean can only be yes or no, one or zero. That's it, right? Boolean means only two options. Okay, so now I'm going to carry on with one of the practical to help you with this. So I'm going to have a new file. So this is it. Now, what I'm going to do is that basically I'm creating a web page that is storing the first name, last name, and age of a person, but by taking the help of a variable. So this means that I also need to declare a variable. I need to use that. So let's work on to that. So first of all, let me save it. Save it as my webpage.html. So I'm going to start it like as usual. HTML open, HTML closed. The next thing is going to be your body, body open, body closed. Then I can give the first font, and can be this is all about me, and I can close it like right like H1. Then I can start my script, and script open, script close, and then I can work like for example, I know I need a variable, and the name of the variable is first name, and what I want to do is that I want to store the name of Katrina into that script close. So this is basically one of the examples. So let's check that what I'm having into my output. See, right now it is only showing me the text. It is not showing me the name of the value that I have stored into the variable. So I guess I need to edit the code a little bit. I'm going to go back onto the code. Here it is, and okay. So let's do it like variable. I have the first name. I have the variable. I'm making another variable that is last name, and let me take it as Katrina Singh. Let me take another variable example that is age, that can be 28. Now, if I want to have these values back, now they are basically stored into an variable. So they are not going to be generating an output until you ask them to do so. So what you have to do is that you need to create an alert. That alert has to go like first name, this one close. So whatever the name of your variable is as it is right here, and you need to make sure that you copy the exact name or the exact spelling. If you change the spelling or something, you are not going to generate an output. Your variable name has to be same throughout your program, although their value can be changed when you are working with a variable. So alert last name right here, alert age right here, and script close. So let's check that what we are having right here. Going to be like save. I'm going to go on to my web page. Uh, um, okay, so you can see that the first alert is generating the name. I have not written that right here. It is generating that output because I gave it same value. Oh wait, I made a mistake in the last name. Last name, okay. So this one's done. This one's also done. And the last one's also done. See? So I hope that so far these variables, data types, and all of these are clear to you. Do you have any queries? Perfect. Now in the next class, we have our operators, we have our functions, then we need to learn how to create the forms in HTML. So this is it for today. I'll see you tomorrow in our next class. Yes, tomorrow we can have it in early morning.